Joining me is the Chief Electoral Officer of the Independent Electoral Commission, Sy Mamabolo, who is going to give us an update as to why 90% has not been declared of the results. Ndadi Mamabolo, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What's the delay about?
Well, the 91% of the results are actually captured and in the system, awaiting auditing as well as scanning, because we've got to have an image of the result slip that was signed by party agents at the voting station in order for you to be able to audit. The hold-up is in that area. With respect to actual capturing, 91% in, 9% to go. So we're going to be concentrating for most of today on getting the auditing done as well as the scanning done, so that by midnight, thereabout today, we should be having completed the process.
So when do you think the final result will be captured and declared?
Well, in terms of final results, probably early morning we should all be done, and the Commission is minded to declaring the results tomorrow evening.
All right. Let's talk about the delays. Was Eskom part of that challenge? I heard you yesterday saying with load shedding now reintroduced, as much as you had hoped that there would be insulation of your systems as per the power outages, has that affected you? Is that why we are still sitting at 69%?
No, look, some of our local offices indeed were load shed, but our provincial ROCs not. But we've had a very cooperative working relationship with Eskom. They've accommodated us as much as they could, and I've just gotten indications that they'll be suspending load shedding for the course of today. So that will help us as well to move quickly. The bulk of the hold up in the results is about auditing as well as scanning them into the system. Not so much about Eskom. It did play a role, but not to any significant extent.
All right. I wonder if Eskom has actually given that update yet to the nation that they will be suspending load shedding. I haven't received anything of that sort from my side, but happy for you to declare that breaking news.
No, I'm not an Eskom spokesperson. Perhaps we should leave it to them to announce it.
Mr. Mamabolo, the big talking point around your systems has been the voter management devices.
Yes.
Why was it necessary that you introduce these at this time, almost putting them to test?
Yeah. The zip-zip, you know the zip-zip, we've been using the zip-zip since 1999, and we were into its second generation. But even that second generation had reached its useful life.
Yeah.
So it could not be repaired because it was out of date in terms of the technology. It's a technology of 1999, and so that's one. Two, the decision of the Constitutional Court on addresses forced us to change our business operations, our business processes. You needed to ensure that when you register a voter, you place them in the correct ward, therefore a need for a mapping functionality. You capture an address at a point of interaction. With a zip-zip, that was impossible.
Okay.
But you also needed a device that you could use also for election purposes.
Yeah.
To ensure that you collect addresses for those that still don't have an address, and that you have a live voter's roll to avoid people voting here and then moving next door to go vote there again. Remember the allegations that we had in 2019. That's the type of innovation that the voter management device seeks to achieve. In other words, we're seeking to improve the efficiency and the integrity of the electoral process by fortifying controls. That's what the voter management device is about.
Let me ask you this question. Have you received any signals so far that some unhappy parties may want to challenge you in court as per the final result. And I'll tell you why I'm asking that question. Some parties saying that, well, certain people would have gone to a voting station and they find that their names are not there, and yet they are registered there, only to discover that it's the mistake of the IEC. And by the time that is looked into, probably those voters have not come back to that voting station. I take it that you've received those kinds of complaints. Do you anticipate, or thus far, have you received anything that could indicate that your final results could be challenged in court?
Well, I can't speak for people who are minded to approaching courts. I think we are a democracy where the judiciary has a role to play in regulating disputes. So if that eventuates, we deal with it at that point. There are objections that the Commission is dealing with, about 15 of them at the moment, and we'll conclude them based on the application of the law on the relevant facts. Now, this is a local government election.
Yeah.
And the injunction of the Constitutional Court is ensure that people vote in the wards in which they live. They can't influence the elections of a ward where they are not ordinarily resident. That is very clear. So a person may have voted at Station A. Sy Mamabolo votes at Station A since 1999 or 1994 even. But when one looks at their address given, it actually places them next door, next voting station. If we allow you to vote here, we are in fact violating the law, because the law says you register and vote in the ward in which you live. You can't influence the outcome of an election where you are not ordinarily resident. So the thing to do is to move you to the right voting station, and when you arrive, you are directed appropriately to the station where you are registered. But two things. The voters' roll was laid for inspection, so that anybody who wanted to could say, no, I don't agree with your placement on this segment, I ought to be in that segment.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, there are many channels which the IEC has created for all voters to check their registration status, which would have given them the precise point where they are registered. You could use 32810, you could use the contact center, you could use the website, you could use the app, all available to you.
Let me ask you this question. When you addressed, I think it was on Tuesday night, there was the issue with the Change Party, and you said you were not willing to take questions. Is there finality around that? Where is the process regarding their issue?
No, Change Party, the matter was resolved amicably, and I want to thank Change. They approached the discussions with us in the national interest. I think I found them to have been very reasonable people who really sought to help us.
What does resolved mean?
Resolved mean we've given an apology to them for the error, and they accepted that it was an error made in good faith, and that's the basis.
On whether it may have prejudiced them in terms of their votes, is that put to bed as well?
Yeah. We put that to bed, and we offered a public apology, remember, and we shared the platform with them, and the matter has rested at that level.
I can't not ask you about voter turnout. I know that it is still at the process of capturing, but by now, surely, you should know where we stand as far as the 58% that came out in 2016 versus what we're possibly talking about now.
Well, I don't think we are set for a 50% turnout. Certainly, we're going to come short of that. But turnout is a multifaceted phenomenon. It's not a one-dimensional matter.
Can I press you a little bit?
Yeah.
If we're not looking at a 50% turnout, Where are we hovering?
In the 40 percentile, somewhere in the 40 percentile. And tomorrow we'll have a clearer indication as to where in the 40s precisely that would be.
Do you take some of the blame for that?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And I want to say the following about turnout. It's a multifaceted phenomenon, multidimensional phenomenon. It depends on the people's perceptions or even reality of services that they get. It is dependent on level of voter education. It is dependent also on what the national message has been. Remember, for close to over 18 months, our national message, necessary national message has been that let's avoid congregate situations, environments, so that we don't then cross-infect one another. So you can't take it to one level. You've got to consider that multiplicity of factors.
Yeah. I'm going to be killed for this literally less than a second. If the result is challenged in court, could that delay the declaration?
No. I think it's a matter that within the domain of the Commission, but generally the Commission will look at the objections, decide them, declare the results, and if there's any challenge, then we deal with it ex post facto.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time, Chief Electoral Officer Sy Mamabolo.